What is up guys, Ghost here, back with another episode of Ghost Stories, which as you know, is usually where I talk about something close to my heart, usually not gaming related, but today it is going to be. And the subject is going to be catering to beginners and the way that diminishes the interactivity and the teamwork between players in games. So you'll notice I have World of Warcraft here in the background, and that isn't going to be the only game I show today, and World of Warcraft isn't the topic of the video either. But I wanted to show this footage here and really just talk a little bit about my past of playing World of Warcraft and what happened to the game and what made me stop really playing the game as much as I used to. So I got into WoW, and what I loved about it was the challenge, the interactivity between players, whether with or against them, that MMO feeling that I'm sure many of you have experienced. Now, I used to do what was called raiding in World of Warcraft. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with that, and some of you won't. So just to explain to you quickly what that is, back in Vanilla, which was the original game when there was no expansion for it, you had 40-man teams that would go into a dungeon to take down epic bosses, and it would take 40 players coordinating together for 2 or 3 hours or even 4 hours at a time, often to bring down one boss. And to get down that boss, it meant using all of your class's abilities and skills synergized and coordinated together, and the teamwork was just incredible that you had to put forth to get a boss down. And that was really what I loved about the game. You know, I was in one of the top raiding guilds on my server, we were getting server first kills on bosses, and I was hooked on that part of the game. I was raiding 5 nights a week, every single night that I could raid. I was there with my guild, and that's what I really loved about the game, that challenge. Now, spin on a while to the first expansion pack, and what Blizzard started to realise was that only around 5% of the entire population of World of Warcraft, of the entire player base, were getting to access the raiding content. So this awesome content that they were putting all this time and money into making, only about 5% of the player base were actually experiencing that. And they realised the reason for this is just because it's so hard. It's such a challenge. You have to be in a raiding guild, and to get in a raiding guild, you had to commit a certain number of hours and a certain number of nights per week to go and raid with that guild. And the problem for most people is that they just couldn't commit such a large amount of time. So what Blizzard went and did is essentially they nerfed the experience. What they first did was brought the number of players required to go in a raid from 40 down to 25, making it considerably easier for guilds to get enough players to actually go and start a raid up. So that was the start. Further on in later expansions, they brought out something called the Dungeon Finder. Now, I'm sure all of you guys who played WoW back in the vanilla days and did the 5-man dungeons, you'll know that you were always talking to the 5 people that you would be doing these dungeons with. So they weren't quite as hard as raids. These were dungeons you did with 4 other people, and you had to talk with them, you had to have teamwork, you had to coordinate spells and abilities on the mobs that you were taking down, otherwise you would end up dying. Without teamwork, without doing things correctly and everybody knowing the boss fights, you would not succeed. Spin on to current day in Draenor, and it's absolutely ridiculous playing World of Warcraft now. You just pull all of the mobs and AoE everything down. In fact, every single instance I've been in, I haven't talked to one of the single guys that I've been doing the dungeon with, because there's just no need for teamwork anymore. There's no need to communicate with anyone. And what's more, you don't actually have to find a group yourself. Back in the day, you would be in Stormwind or Ironforge or whatever city it happened to be at the time, and you would be spamming the chat looking for players, you know, and you would get chatting to people. You would make friends that way. But now you have this dungeon finder, you queue up, and it's essentially like a matchmaking system. It finds you 4 other players, and you instantly get transported into the dungeon. And really, the reason for this simplification and this catering to newer players and making everything easier is the reason I stopped playing WoW. I just didn't have the longing to play a game that had become that easy anymore. So what is the opposite of that then? What games give you a really rewarding experience? Well, first of all, we of course have Counter-Strike Go. Now the reason that there is no fucking around in that game is because you have to have teamwork and communication. That is a requisite of playing CSGO. Okay, sure, in some of the lower levels, you might get the odd person who's messing around, but the vast majority of people are serious about wanting to win the round. The team with the better teamwork and communication will 9 times out of 10 be the team that comes out victorious. So this game encourages teamwork, it encourages player interaction, and the game is hard, and it makes it more rewarding because of that. It's rewarding to win against your opponents. Take StarCraft 2, exactly the same. You cannot jump into StarCraft 2 and just expect to win. You know, it's going to take you a long time to get good at the game, and the more you play, the better you will get, and you're going to end up winning people, and it's an extremely rewarding experience. For me, World of Warcraft, you know, that experience was lost. The interactivity with other players has become completely lost for me, and that's why I stopped playing that game. Now, the reason I bring up all of these games is because I feel Battlefield is going down a slope that is in the same direction as World of Warcraft. This catering to newer players, making things easier, making things more accessible, and, you know, the thing that's always attracted me to Battlefield was the skill. It's always about the skill for me. I want to play a game that's going to take me a long time to get good at. I'm going to be able to see myself getting better, and I'm going to be winning more, and that's going to be reflected in my becoming a better player. That's why I play StarCraft 2, that's why I play Hearthstone, that's why I play CSGO, and that's why I started playing Battlefield. It used to be about this great experience. You have all these different vehicles, you had to learn how to use each and every one, the weapons were vastly different, and it used to be about teamwork. It used to be about working together to bring down the enemy air, working together to capture flags, baiting enemies, having a good mix-up of classes and synergizing them well together. Not just everybody playing recon because they want to get better at sniping. I understand that if you buy a game, you have the right to play it however you see fit, as long as you enjoy it and, you know, to hell with other people, or at least that's the opinion of the masses out there, I feel. But I feel this problem largely comes down to simple manners and consideration. Other people are trying to play the objective, which is what the game mode and the game itself is designed around. So when you go on a bus, you know, you try not to talk loudly on the phone, because you respect the fact that people around you are trying to read or just want some peace and quiet. It's not because there's some rule set in place that you can't talk, it's just out of common courtesy. If you go to a library, you have to be quiet. If you're in the supermarket, you don't go ramming your trolley like into the next shopper out of common courtesy. It's not because some predetermined set of rules that says you are not allowed to do this have been set there. It's just that people have respect for one another. The same doesn't apply in online games for the same reason people bully others online or troll them or DDoS them, because people know they can get away with it without facing any consequences, and they don't actually have to look that person in the eye and, you know, see those emotions. Alright, I'll admit, maybe some of those examples are a bit serious, but you can see my point. I'm not saying that DICE should ban people from servers if they're messing around and not playing the objective, but it would be nice if they had a game mode or certain servers based around playing the objective and others where anything goes and you're free to do what you like. That way people who just want a casual experience can do that, and those of us who wish to play the game as it was designed can do so with like-minded people. Now, you may be familiar with another YouTuber known as Lutin, and this has always been a big issue for him. He's wanted the teamwork aspect of Battlefield 4 to come back the way it used to be in the good old days, and of course over on the CTE they have been talking about teamwork prototypes. They haven't really made a huge amount of progress with those as of yet, but when it comes to Lutin, you know, he's taken the matter into his own hands. He's gotten a 32 player server, and his rules on the server are simple. You play objectively. If you don't play objectively and you're just messing around, you know, you're going to get kicked out. And that's fair enough. You don't have to join that server if you don't enjoy that. But if you're somebody who wants to play the objective, wants to play as part of the team, and not just think about, you know, kill whoring or any of that other bollocks, then I'll link that server down below so you guys can go and check it out whenever it happens to be populated. Now, there is a matchmaking prototype currently on the CTE, which is a step in the right direction, but I haven't been able to try it out due to lack of participation. Once again, I'd like to reference how CSGO does things. It tackles this problem perfectly, providing game modes for casual players, so if you want to hop in there and, you know, shoot chickens and just crazy stuff like that, warm up, whatever it may be, you can go in there and you can expect other players to be messing around and, you know, knifing teammates and stuff, and that's fine. But there's also the competitive player who wishes to better himself and enjoy the company of others in a team-heavy experience, and he has that offer. He can go ahead and have that experience as well. So, with all that said, what do I propose? Well, first of all, in regards to the team aspect of the game, I want DICE to push the competitive side of Battlefield. They're always talking about competitive Battlefield, and the community are doing a damn sight more to push that than the developers themselves, in all honesty. I really hope that some of the game modes, is it Rescue I think, for Hardline, are going to be more competitive orientated. But really implementing matchmaking modes is what is going to attract the more skilled players, the people who want to better themselves, and that's where you're going to have a better team-based experience. I think that would be a great place to start. I mean, at the moment we have unranked servers, we have ranked servers, all the rest of it. Why not implement matchmaking, or why not implement some sort of like ladder servers? I think that would be really cool. I have made a video on this in the past actually, and I'll link that one down below so you guys can go and watch that. But that's really something that would make me extremely happy in Battlefield 4. So I hope that the matchmaking that they're doing over on the CT comes to fruition, and hopefully eventually comes over into the main game, and hopefully makes it over into Hardline as well. The second thing is to stop this catering to newer players. Now, you guys remember what I said about my experiences with World of Warcraft and what happened with that game and the raiding scene. Now start to think about some of the new changes to the jets and the speed control over on the CTE. So what did Blizzard do? You know, only 5% of their player base really had access to the raiding content, or not had access, but could be bothered to put in the effort required to gain access to the raiding content. So Blizzard ended up nerfing things to make it more accessible to everybody, and I couldn't help but draw that comparison when I thought about them nerfing the speed control of jets. It's been well known that I would say probably 5 to 10% of the player base fly jets, or are decent in the jets, which is actually part of the reason I started to make jet tutorials, because I realised there was just such a large number of people out there who had no idea how to fly the jets, and so I decided to make some tutorials to try and help them out, and what do you know, it was a success. Now I see that they're changing the speed control, they're getting rid of the 313 speed control, and I can't help but think they're doing this to simply make jets accessible to everybody, to make them easier to use. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this down below, guys. I know it's been a bit of a ranty commentary, but you know, don't worry, I'm fine. I'm not pissed. It's all good. But this is something that I am concerned about, and I wanted to get off of my chest. This kind of experience in gaming is the reason I started a YouTube channel. It's the kind of gaming that I enjoy, bettering myself as a player, and in turn sharing what I've learned with you guys in video form. That's what I really enjoy about YouTube, it's what I really enjoy about gaming, and those are always going to be the kind of games that I will try to play. Battlefield is becoming less and less that sort of a game for me, so you know, I wanted to get this out there. I want to know if you guys agree with me. Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this topic today. If you managed to stick it out the entire 14 minutes of this video, thank you very much. That means a lot to me, and you're awesome for that. But in any case, guys, I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.